Well, I mean, I guess not too difficult. It's possible,
Yeah.
You want to find
but
out
like
how possible?
difficult.
Is that a challenge?
No.
What's
Is
I
this
love
a
my
challenge?
job.
No,
Is
no,
there a
no.
challenge?
No.
Let's not do that.
I love my job and I work very hard. Like,
Plus, I don't think you want our jobs.
I don't think you'd want much.
I don't, but a challenge is a challenge.
But it wasn't a challenge.
Sounds like a challenge to me.
I didn't hear it.
Who can? Which exec member can I get rid of the fast?
Actually, I think so.
I think so.
Actually?
Yeah. I think the fastest one would be this one.
Really?
Did you see this email?
I've seen it from David.
I know, I'm just saying. It's like another.
I don't know.
Cool and colorful. I like it.
I just
The
shared
library's a lot
presentation.
broader.
Should I pull up my device or will somebody have something here? Should we pull up?
More than 3 days.
I just shared it with him on Teams.
Oh, okay, I'll tell him you shared it.
There's one guarantee from the forms, but there are much
John will broadcast the we'll share something on Teams or he did.
I did.
Yeah, he did. Will you be able to pull it up on the screen?
Or does he want me to?
Is it a whole presentation?
PowerPoint.
It's a PowerPoint.
Good. How are you?
How was tabling?
It was good. I finally got the cover talk to
Oh,
Good.
yes.
See you.
Yeah.
Is it fun?
That's fun.
Yeah, but it's exhausting too.
It's also like, I
You said you
cannot,
didn't see it yet?
it must be challenging.
Okay, yeah, I just sent
I
like
never had
less
to
than
learn
10
Robert's
minutes ago.
Yeah, he just sent it about 10
every
minutes
one too. It's tricky stuff.
It's like, I
On
haven't,
Teams.
I've known Robert's rules for way too long, so I
Yeah.
have it roughly memorized.
Yeah.
But it's just like, every once in a while, oh, there's a new edition, I'm like, gotta go read Robert's rules again.
Yeah. Sounds like
But I mean, like, I'm also quite lenient with it, cause there's some things that are just not
Are you
accessible.
gonna
Oh,
have
and
your
it doesn't
laptop there?
matter. I mean, it matters like keeping the agenda.
I could do it or he could do
I
it,
mean, if
whatever
somebody
he.
speaks out of order, it's not the worst thing in the whole world.
Yeah, I saw your presentation.
Yes, and I just shared it with Robert too to see
Cool,
if
cool.
he has it up, so.
Okay, he said he has it now.
He has it?
Yeah, he has it.
Does he want to broadcast or does he want me to?
Do you wanna broadcast it on your side, Robert, or on his side? Yeah,
Would he want it to?
here you go.
Said yes, so that's fine.
Oh, good, just ask
I'm
him.
confused. Why did
He
you
can
get
hear you.
there?
Sorry.
He's gonna do it?
He's gonna tell him when he wants to.
I'm trying to do like
That is my hydration for this meeting.
you know, that's what this is for.
This is just a friendly little version that I copy out.
So if possible, like.
Committee appointments, remind me.
Yes.
I'm gonna let people know that I'm out this Friday. And then,
And I just wanna remind myself in my head, you wanna be first constant from here on, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have it?
Yeah.
that's all.
Teams.
I gotta write that down. It's all right.
So you go, man.
We'll do the thumb drive, cause he said he had it, but it's kinda large. so-
Yep. Okay.
Yep. So did you put it in already? Okay. Oh, he said he's got an idea. I hate being transmitted. Shoot the messenger, please put me on this right here. And that's it, and you can link it up to your phone, so when you're walking back and forth. Some before, I think they're in the storeroom, but I don't know. Okay.
Robert can?
No, I don't think so.
Maybe on this side of the table. Seemed like the fun side.
Yeah, it's just easier to see that.
You know what? I didn't even think of that. Also,
That's why
I didn't want to be one of the people on that side.
And it's also on here.
No, it's fine.
it's just easier. Yeah, I was gonna say so much. So,
Oh yeah, just say next slide.
I'm just like this during the whole meeting. The camera definitely, it does catch me and it's
I mean,
angled.
it's not like this the first meeting.
The angle of the camera catches me in the lens in the end. I'm invisible if I just recline the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Professionalism versus comfort. Odd. I could plug my laptop in. See, now I'm back there. So high enough that power in front of me, though. That's a little dicier. A lot dicier.
I'm not required to climb under the table.
Also that.
Which I think is heavily frowned upon. But you're gonna be right in the camera.
Yeah, you will be right in the
You're gonna be
camera.
right in the camera.
Goodbye. Lock. Oh well.
What are you trying to do? I don't want to be back so far. I don't think it's gonna just stop.
You would think that there's like a lot.
I don't think there is. I think you just have a problem with rocking back, which I don't understand.
I don't like. There's a limit to how far walking rocking back. Like this is too far. This is happy medium. There's a line, and that's what I'm finding.
I think you just have to not rock. I think it's
But
a
I do
simple
rock.
solution.
That's the issue. I'm a rock star.
Did you say you're a rock star?
I did say I'm a rock star. I'm very humble.
Oh, okay, right. Right.
I know what
Hey, how are ya? Good.
Your name.
It's all good. Oh,
You're like, what now?
Mine's
Jordan.
Mine. This one's mine.
That's Abby's.
This one's mine.
That's Abby's. This one was beautiful.
Who Abby is? Wait, maybe I do know who Abby is. Oh, I don't.
There's no new painting and it just
Who's
says
Abby?
you do.
Is Abby the main one? I'll recognize Abby when she gets here.
I'm surprised by
Oh,
how
I know who you're talking about now.
And then the cross is right
I
as
don't know.
and it jumps right.
I probably will. I'm terrible with names.
No, I
So
was,
bad with names.
but then I had two sisters and the other sisters.
Camera's on.
They
Official.
made
What's that?
two and over.
The main one. Not the mean one. No, you're the mean one.
I'm not mean. I've done nothing wrong.
That's what you did in the Walmart parking lot in 2013.
2013.
You're not gonna talk about that?
I was 10. I was 10.
So that means you're 20? Not your child.
I am. I'm a baby.
I'm 23.
Oh man.
Ancient.
I'm not even one. I'm almost 20.
Oh my gosh, you're a child.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean 10-year-olds can't commit felonies.
But he's talking.
I don't even think I knew what a felony was.
Like, where'd they all go? The gavel's gonna drop in like 2 seconds.
Ryan said he didn't know.
I don't know who you are actually. I stand by that. Oh, you're the other at large?
Yes.
I was wondering.
I was like, I swear you know who you are.
I call us to order at 4 p.m. And we will just go ahead and get on into Senator Henson, Senator Chisholm,
Yep.
Senator Frawling, Senator Frawley.
Here.
Senator Ali.
Here.
Senator Sharab.
Here.
Senator Wolakaiden.
Here.
Senator Ziti.
Here.
Senator Nguyen. Senator Bryant.
Here.
Senator Kanza.
Here.
Senator Goma. Senator Goma. Senator Mohammed.
Here.
Senator Oladeji.
Here.
Senator Leistico.
Here.
Did I get it right?
You got it right?
Perfect. Senator Andri.
Here.
Senator Revere. Senator Revere. Senator Godswell. Senator Godswell. Senator Berhanu. Senator Berhanu. Senator Hawk. Senator Hawk. Yeah. Senator Parikh.
Here.
Senator Narala.
Present.
Senator Jha. And Senator Speltz.
Here.
Speaker Roberts here. President Roiger.
Here.
And Vice President Mesta.
Here.
Senator Goma.
Here.
Cool. Alrighty, we'll proceed onwards to the consent agenda. Is there any dissent to the consent agenda? And I'll give a little bit of a reminder, just in case some people forgot exactly what this was. This is the time for you to be able to make any changes to the agenda. Or if, say, there was an appointment that you were like, I don't want David Mesta to be appointed to this budget sub-meet and confer group. This would be the time for you to either dissent, make amendments. If there's things that you wanted to add to the agenda, this would be that time to do so. So is there any dissent to the consent agenda? Any dissent? Any dissent? Any dissent? Then we will consider the consent agenda passed. We'll proceed onwards, and this is where these are available digitally. The approval of the minutes as promised. As you notice, we are going into that digital domain and making that shift. We do have some things that are remaining in physical form for a few more meetings. Is there anyone who wishes to motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any dissent to approving the minutes? Seeing no dissent, the minutes are approved. With that being said, we will proceed onwards to presentations, and we will hear a wonderful presentation from John Bulcock on the university structure.
Thank you. Thank you, Speaker Roberts. I have a presentation prepared. I've given this presentation every year at the beginning of the Senate session in order to try to help you get an understanding. For some of you, you're pretty new to the role and you might not have a full idea as to how the university is structured and where student government fits in within it. And for some of you, you're pros at this and this will be a good refresher. So I provided a presentation to our Maverick Video Productions folks, and so he can pull that up on the screen now. There we go, perfect. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the administrative structure and what we call collective bargaining at the university. Collective bargaining or shared governance, okay? And so what this means, what shared governance means is that there are multiple groups across the university who have a voice at the table. And so it comes down to policy consultation, tuition and fee setting, all of that kind of stuff. There's shared governance at the university, meaning that different groups have a voice around that table. And student government is the student voice in that shared governance process. Collective bargaining is more a labor relations term that deals with unionized labor and employment practices and stuff like that. And so several of the groups that participate in the shared governance part of the university or process at the university are collective bargaining units or unions, okay? And so we'll talk a little bit about that, but I want to focus more on what student government's role is and how they participate in the shared governance of the university. First off, we're going to start at a very high level, the university org chart, where it goes with the university administration and the different divisions. This is available in the Teams folder that you all will have access to, so you'll be able to pull this up and view it. But at a very 10,000 foot view, you have President Edward Ench at the top of the university structure. He reports to the Board of Trustees at the Minnesota State System. And within the university, there are several different divisions, okay? And so the divisions are Student Affairs and Enrollment Management. That's the one that a lot of you will be involved with and that we work most closely with here. Diversity, Equity, Inclusion is a division. The Min Poly Institute has a dotted line relationship to Academic Affairs. Finance and Administration is a division. University Advancement is a division. IT Solutions is a division. Student Success, Analytics, and Integrated Planning is a division. And then we have also Equal Opportunity and Title IX and Human Resources. They're independent offices that don't necessarily fall under a division. They fall under the direct report to the university president though, okay? So I'm going to go through these real quick. So your Vice President for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion is Dr. Henry Morris, right? Okay, several people know Dr. Morris. He'll pop into these meetings every once in a while as well. He'll be at Meet and Confer. You won't see the director of the Min Poly Institute very often. That is former Dean Brian Martinson from the College of Science, Engineering, and Technology. The provost, or the vice president for the Division of Academic Affairs, is Dr. David Hood. You'll see his mugshot here in a minute. His photo. They've got some very good-looking mugshots here with the president and with Dr. Hood, and mine's not on there, but the Vice President for Student Affairs and Enrollment Management is Dr. David Jones. He's not here right now. I wouldn't be surprised to see him pop in here, though. He does pop into these pretty regularly. The Vice President for Administration and Finance is a gentleman by the name of Mr. Rick Straka. He is retiring this year, though, so there will be a search for a new Vice President for Administration and Finance. University Advancement, that is the division that is responsible for fundraising and fundraising at the university, so Alumni Relations and the University Foundation. That's Mr. Kent Stanley. IT Solutions is Mr. Mark Johnson. He participates, he might even be online on Zoom right now. He tends to participate in, or attend student government meetings quite regularly, whether virtually or in person. So I don't know if he's on right now, but he may be. And then for Student Success, Analytics, and Integrated Planning, you have Dr. Lynn Akey. And so she does a lot of the institutional research, a lot of the, she's steering the group that was doing the strategic planning for the university and all of that kind of stuff. So some more of the high-level thinking behind some of the things that happen here at the university in terms of priorities and things like that, okay? I'm going to focus on two main divisions, okay? In student government, you're serving on one of two main committees. They are the what committees? Who can name those two committees for me?
Student affairs.
Yeah? You were both just about to name them.
Student and academic affairs.
Student and academic affairs, okay? We're going to talk about those two divisions here at the university. So we'll go ahead into the next slide. Academic affairs. Okay, Provost David Hood is relatively new to the institution. He's looking rather dapper in his photo there. Always rocks a bow tie. I wish I could rock it like he does. So academic affairs obviously deals with the academic mission of the institution. Okay, he oversees everything pertaining to that academic mission. The academic deans, the colleges, the institutes, all of those things work up through Dr. David Hood. So he oversees undergraduate education, research and graduate education, and like I mentioned, the deans. There are some other administrators, associate provosts, and vice presidents, and all of that who work with him. Dr. Dahlman, who is she's mostly known as the Dean of Global Education. Okay, and so that's where most people will work with her on is global education things. So KIC, study abroad, those kinds of things. Okay. Dr. Timothy Berry is the Interim Associate VP for Faculty Affairs and Equity Initiatives within the division. Dr. Veltsos is somebody who you will see here regularly. She does pop into these meetings quite regularly and works very closely with students. She is the Curriculum and Dean of, the Interim Associate VP for Curriculum and Dean of Graduate Studies. Dr. Terry Wallace works with Extended Campus, so the Edina campus and things like that. And then your academic deans. Some of these folks are new. They're new names that you may not have seen before. Okay, and I'm going to try my best not to butcher some of them. So, who are the College of Allied Health and Nursing Senators in the room? Okay, Dr. Patricia Marincic. I hope I got that right. I think it's pretty close. So she's your dean. How about Humanities and Social Sciences? You know your dean, Dr. Chris Brown. Okay, absolutely. You'll get to meet him very frequently, hopefully. One of our new deans, College of Business. Are you in here, College of Business? Have you met your new dean yet? Okay. What was his name? Dr. Sungbach. Okay, very good, very good. How about College of Ed? Okay, you know who your dean is?
Yeah.
Dr. Haar, and she's getting ready to retire too.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Me.
Okay, yep. See, she's been here for a while, and so we'll be on a search for a new dean of College of Education as well. CSET. Okay, have you met your new dean yet? Okay, Dr. Muhammad Alam has just recently started here at the university, so he is new to that role, and so a good person that you'll get to meet as well. And then Dean Chris Corley, the Dean of Library and Learning. He pops into these meetings every once in a while as well, very student-focused, student-friendly, wants to do things for the students. So those are the folks who are in academic affairs, or the higher level administration. Within academic affairs, next slide please, we kind of have a hierarchy, okay? The general structure. I mentioned the other day, and I've mentioned a couple of times, that if you want to try to accomplish something, you work with the people who are most closely situated to it, okay? Because they can make the most immediate impact and probably have the most knowledge about the very specific thing that you're working with. So kind of working your way up through the division of academic affairs, you have the faculty member, and within the ranks of the faculty there are several, or within the faculty rank, there are several ranks that they can have, okay? You have adjunct professors. They're not full-time instructors on campus necessarily. They're being paid by the credit hour that they're teaching. You have an instructor, and then you get into what's called the tenure track, okay? An assistant professor is the lowest of the three ranks on the tenure track, okay? And then somebody can advance to an associate professor and a full professor. Okay, we have a committee that reviews applications for those promotions within the tenure track. And so once you've reached that full professorship, you're considered at the top of that tenure track. Okay, and we actually have a full professor in the room with us right now who is a member of the faculty. And she's immediately to my right. She has gone through that tenure and promotion process and is considered a full professor at the university. Okay. After the faculty, you go to a department chair. Your department chair is a member of the faculty, okay? But they have been chosen or selected as the chair of the department and have the responsibility for the faculty and the programs within the department, okay? So, if you're in a class and you think there's something wrong with the class or the faculty member and you aren't able to resolve it directly with that faculty member, your next person to talk to is the department chair, because they're the next most closely situated to the thing that you're trying to solve. From the department chairs, you have, within each college you have several departments, and so you go from the department chairs to the dean. There's only one dean in the college. There are several department chairs in the college, okay? And then the deans report up through the associate VP for curriculum or for undergraduate education. And then you have an associate VP, associate provost, or a senior associate VP, and then you have the top ranking person for the division, the vice president or the provost as we call him. That's Dr. Hood, okay? So that's kind of the hierarchy within the division of academic affairs. Any questions about that? Does it make sense, kind of? So again, the biggest thing I want you to take away is that when you're trying to resolve an issue, you start with the people who are most closely situated to it, okay? Got it. Next slide, please. We're going to move on to the other division that you're going to work a lot with. Okay, if you're not on the academic affairs committee, you're on the student affairs committee. Student affairs, that division deals with a lot of the stuff that you're going to work with and encounter outside the classroom. Okay, they support the educational mission of the institution, but they help create the experience, the holistic experience for the student on campus. Okay, and whether that's services or different types of skill development that we focus on, those are the things that you're going to encounter within the Division of Student Affairs and Enrollment Management. So that gentleman you see right there is Dr. David Jones. He's your Vice President for Student Affairs and Enrollment Management. Within the university structure, kind of, he is considered the administrative liaison, the Vice President at the Vice President level to student government. Okay, I'm the direct advisor to student government, but when it comes to having the cabinet level Administrator, who's your liaison, that's him, right there, okay? So he sees recruitment, transition, and retention efforts at the university, student services and programs, student conduct, student government, all of that kind of stuff. Within the Division of Student Affairs, you have several directors, okay? And there are 2 of them in this room, okay? Can anybody point out one of the directors to me who's in this room, who's within the Division of Student Affairs? Who? Who are you talking about, Rashid? Mark Constantine is one of the directors within the Division of Student Affairs. Who else is one of the directors within the Division of Student Affairs that's in the room? Student Health Services, yes, and Antonia Yenser is your Director for Student Health Services. So if we can go back to my slide here, we'll talk about who these other directors are. So Cindy Janney, she's your Director of Residential Life and the Dean of Students, okay? You mentioned Mark Constantine. Sandy Schnorrenberg, University Security, falls under that division, okay? Student Health Services, as you mentioned. Todd Fingston's your Director of Campus Recreation. So if you're looking at the campus rec hours, auto rec, intramural sports, things like that, that's what Todd works with. Brian Jones is your Director of Undergraduate Admissions. Okay, so over in the Taylor Center, that falls under this division. Nikki Stock oversees new student and family programs. So orientation, okay, family weekend, and a lot of those things. So that assist as students are transitioning into the university. Pam Weller oversees the Career Development Center, so where you go to have your resumes reviewed, job fairs, all that kind of good stuff. And then Dr. Carrie Much is she's a licensed counselor, but also the director of the Counseling Center, so that falls within the Division of Student Affairs and Enrollment Management as well. So, like I mentioned, not necessarily academic in nature, but complementary to the academic mission of the institution. A lot of the stuff that students think about when they don't have their noses into the books. Okay, and so this touches every aspect of student life on campus. Okay, I fall under this division, as do a lot of the folks that you'll interact with outside the classroom. Okay, we're going to go to the next slide. I'm going to talk, as I talked about the hierarchy or the structure within academic affairs. I'm going to talk briefly about the roles within student affairs. So. We don't have faculty members. We're considered staff. Well, I guess technically we're considered service faculty, a lot of us are, okay? But generally speaking, when you think about faculty, you think about members of the teaching faculty and those who raise up through the academic ranks, okay? But we would be considered, for the most part, staff folks. Okay, you start with graduate staff, so graduate advisors, graduate assistants who do things in the different departments, okay? I think we have 4 graduate assistants in my office. Antonia has several in her office as well. Most of us do, and so they help with the functions and programs of the office. You'll have support staff, so those frontline people who are there to greet people when they come in the door, or they might help with answering phones or some of the administrative functions within the departments. And then you get into program coordinators, assistant directors. I'm considered an assistant director in my office, okay? We have assistant directors, we have associate directors, and we have directors. And the directors all report to the VP. So Mark and Antonia report to Dr. Jones. That's who their direct report is. I report to an associate director.
I report to my wife first.
Yes. My colleagues and I, as assistant directors, we report to the associate director, who is Greg Wilkins. Some of you know Greg Wilkins, so he is my supervisor. And then Greg reports to Mark as the director for the CSU and student activities, okay? And so again, if you're working with something like intramural sports, okay? I'm not sure whether Ryan's considered I think he's considered a program coordinator for intramural sports. So if you have a question about that, and that's the issue that you're working on, is the intramural sports schedule, okay? You don't need to go to Todd Fingston with your issue about intramural sports. He's not the one who's most closely situated to intramural sports. The program coordinator is. Or the program coordinator may even have a graduate assistant who's working with intramural sports too. Okay? And so if you want to see something or you've got a question, go into the people who are most closely situated to the specific issue you're working on is the best idea. Okay? Ryan Stevens would be your person for intramural sports. Okay? Prime example. If you have a question about fraternity and sorority life, you don't need to go to Mark directly. Okay? I'm the one who's most closely situated to fraternity and sorority life. and would be a good person to go to first. Okay? But then if your issues aren't resolved and you run into a pattern of that, then you start working your way up a little bit, okay, if you need to. But again, your best option is to go to the people most closely situated to the specific issue you're working on. Okay? Thank you. We'll go on to the next slide. So again, collective bargaining and shared governance. Collective bargaining deals with employment practices, working conditions, all of that, the different policies and procedures that govern how employees are working at the university. Almost all of the employees on campus are members of a collective bargaining unit or a union, okay? That's very common with any state employee across the state of Minnesota. And so they negotiate basic employment stuff, okay? Whether it be wages, policies, you name it, that's what most of the collective bargaining has to do with, okay? It refers to employee relations, okay? The bargaining units have what are called meet and confer sessions, where their chief representatives get together with university representatives and discuss what's going on in matters that affect most significantly that group of people on campus, whether it's the bargaining unit or in the case of student government. Student government has a meet and confer coming up, is it tomorrow? Or next Thursday? Next Thursday, yes. Okay, my days are all scrambled right now. So, but there will be a meet and confer where the chief leadership with student government, and some of you will have that opportunity as well, because there are a few extra seats around that table. We'll have the opportunity to go in with university administrators and discuss what's going on at the university. If they're talking about new policies or procedures, it's those sessions where they're officially brought up as part of the consultation process and the shared governance process. Okay? And so that's kind of what happens there. So again, collective bargaining, employee relations, deals with employees, okay? Student government is not necessarily collectively bargaining for anything. Student government is participating in the shared governance part of the university, okay? That's where you get to have your voice about policies, procedures, and things like that, okay? Understand the difference between collective bargaining and shared governance? Okay, those are the big points I wanted to make. Okay, next. Okay, I mentioned bargaining units on campus, several unions. These are some of them that are listed. I'm not going to go through all of them. You'll hear about some of them, okay? You'll hear about AFSCME. AFSCME represents a lot of the administrative support staff, custodial crews on campus, things like that. You have MAPE, which represents some other professional classes of employees. Some of the prime examples of MAPE employees on campus might include IT solutions staff. A lot of them fall into MAPE. And I believe Brian's actually a member of MAPE himself as well.
Yeah, middle management.
You're middle management. Okay, got it. He's a little bit higher up on the food chain, so that's kind of how that worked. So but a lot of the staff who would work with and for Brian are members of MAPE. Okay, you'll hear about ASF, the Administrative and Service Faculty, or MUSAF. Okay, a lot of the people like me and Mark and Antonia are part of MUSAF. Okay, so we are the folks who work with stuff outside of the classroom and on student services and a lot of things like that. Okay, there are some others, some athletics department staff who work as part of ASF and some others. You'll hear about the IFO, or the Interfaculty Organization. Okay, that is the group that obviously is it's the union that represents the faculty on campus. Okay, and Kellyanne Klink, sitting in here, serves as the IFO liaison to sit in on student government meetings and help share things of concern from IFO to student government, or to take back some of the things that we're talking about and share that with her IFO colleagues. Okay, and so I'm not going to go through all of the bargaining units on campus, but those are the big ones that you'll hear about. You'll hear about AFSCME, you'll hear about MAPE, you'll hear about ASF, and you'll hear about the IFO. Okay, those are some of the ones that'll work most closely with some of the initiatives that student government might work on, and also a lot of the people who you're going to work with directly, whether you're asking questions or looking for solutions, are going to be parts of those units. Okay, I will move on to the next slide, please. Your role on campus, I mentioned student government is a leadership organization, but you're representative of the entire student population. I encourage you to think about that. You are elected to represent a constituency. Okay? Some of you might have a very specific pet project that is very, very important to you. And to some degree, that's okay, but I encourage you to remember that you are elected to represent a constituency group, okay? And so when you're thinking about the voice you express around the table and the things that you bring up, think about how that might be representative of the constituency that you were elected or appointed to represent, okay? That's very, very important, okay? Let's see here. The student government's voice is paid attention to by university administration. There have been several things that have happened in the past couple of years that were done because they were an initiative of the student government. Okay? Can somebody name something that's happened within the past 2 years that was done because it was an initiative of the student government? I can think of at least 2 within the last year. Yes. Reflection space, prime example. Yes. Okay? How about another one? There was another big one. There was a certain lounge down on the first floor of the building.
Lincoln?
Lincoln Lounge. Yep, you got it. Those were some initiatives that were brought up by student government. The university administration will look to student government for opinions on various things. When you pass a resolution on something, okay, that resolution is the official voice of the students and the official opinion of the students. Okay, so that's what a resolution is. It's an opinion of the Senate. Okay, they're not always binding. Okay, but they express the official will of the Senate. Okay, and so that's why you'll see resolutions come up that get forwarded on to administration. So, what we also ask for you to do is to engage your other students in the shared governance of the university. There are over 200 appointments that need to be made to various committees across campus, okay? Y'all can't do that on your own, okay? So we need you to go out and seek out other student leaders who might have interest in doing something or a specific interest that can be matched with a committee assignment, okay? You're gonna have a mix of both. You're gonna have some who are like, I don't know what I wanna do, I just wanna do something. And then you're gonna have some who are like, I'm really big into sustainability, so please stick me on the sustainability committee, okay? So we encourage you to engage other students in that process. Y'all can't do it all, so please don't try. We want you to do things and do them well. If you spread yourself too thin, you won't do any of it well. So encourage you to engage other students in that shared governance. All of those committees are part of the shared governance process at the university. Okay. Next slide, please. There are some other groups within student government that are members appointed to or students appointed to. You've got some independent boards and commissions. There's a newspaper board, the CSU board. You've heard Mark Constantine make a pitch for that. He will continue to do so until that board is full. The Constitution Commission works independently of the Senate. They make and review suggested changes to the Constitution, the governing documents, things like that. If there's a question that needs to be answered, they are the ones who get to interpret that. You'll have a commission on ethics and standards. The commission on the president has some commissions as well. They all may have senator representation, but they may also have representation that are not senators. Okay, you have several internal committees, some of the ones that we've named already, and these are all designed to again be part of the shared governance process. These are for shared governance. These are provide input and oversight of operations and things like that. Okay. Most of those groups have an authority or an obligation to report stuff to the Senate to be informative to you. Again, you don't necessarily have the ability to, what's the word I want to say? Give a yes or no vote on every action of those groups. Okay? So they're entrusted to do the stuff that's good. They're there to inform you about what they're doing. Okay? All right, next slide, please. I mentioned, this is just wrapping things up. We're almost done here, okay? So in the shared governance process, your input and expressing your thoughts are very, very important. It's listened to. Decisions are made based on feedback given from these different groups across campus, okay? I mentioned this last week. Number one hope is that when you are on a committee or that when you're coming to a meeting or something like that, you got to be prepared for those, okay? They're going to walk in, they're going to assume that by the time you walk into the meeting, you're prepared, you're ready, you know what's going to be talked about and stuff like that. That's most of these meetings, they'll share something with you ahead of time, whether it's an agenda. You saw that Speaker Roberts sent out the agenda yesterday for this meeting, okay? review that stuff beforehand so you know what's coming at you. You shouldn't be surprised by anything that comes up in those meetings. So please be prepared, ask questions. And then if you do go to a meeting, especially if one that only meets once or twice a semester, give a senator report, okay? That should absolutely be part of your senator report, okay? If you know of students who are serving on important committees who aren't senators, encourage them to come and give an open forum thing, a report about the committee that they're serving on, okay? But definitely include that stuff and inform the Senate about what's going on. You don't need to give every little detail, but enough to say, here's what we're doing, things are moving along, the committee's functioning, as it should, okay? As I mentioned earlier, just you are representative of these students when you're serving on the committee, not just your own thoughts, but the student body at large, so please keep that in mind. And then always remember that this is the voice for the students, so on big and small matters. So I encourage you to keep that in mind in everything that you do. Okay? I believe that's all I've got on there. Are there any questions for me about this stuff that I mentioned?
Are there any questions? Any questions? Sorry. Senator Revere.
We're gonna get that presentation?
Yes, it'll be in the Microsoft Teams for you, that you'll have, the folder that you'll have access to, yes. You got it.
Are there any other senators for questions? Any questions?
Don't be afraid to approach us one-on-one or ask your leadership. A lot of that stuff is very familiar to them, and so they can help guide you through that as well.
If there are no other questions, thank you so much, John.
I'm gonna leave the microphone on. You don't need to do anything to it.
Cool. With that being said, is there anyone for open forum? Anyone for open forum? Yes. It's Mark.
Testing. Hi, my name is Brian Schneider, and I'm one of the directors and the assistant CIO within IT Solutions. Welcome back. I'm so glad that students are back. Part of the big reason is because we're really, really tired. During the summer when all the students are gone and most of the faculty are gone, it's one of our busiest times because when you're all away, we can get a lot of work done. So we have been really, really busy all summer long, and I'll give you a list of some of the things we've been working on. This is just a partial list, but I've been working for 3 months on trying to get a new service contract in place that's going to help take care of the MavPrint printers so that when they're broken, we can call and get quick repairs on them to keep them up and running and functioning. So we're just about, yesterday I just received a final contract. We're trying to get that signed by the state, and that you should see a significant improvement in the reliability of MavPrint printers. And what that's also going to mean is that the oldest MavPrint printers are going to be replaced as well. So we should see a dramatic increase in the reliability of the MavPrint service for the students. So that's one of the big things. Another big thing that we worked on all summer is replacing our telephone system and a lot of our telephones, and that's about 2,500 telephones. So that was a major project that we are just wrapping up now. We've done some Wi-Fi improvements here in the Student Union. There's one of the access points that's up on the ceiling over there, that white box with the blue light. What we did was we went around and did a site survey, and we found all of the problems within the CSU that people were complaining about with Wi-Fi here in the building. So we did a site survey. We used some design tools, and we redesigned our wireless network. We moved everything around, and now we're coming back and we're doing some final tweaks and tune-ups on it. But you should notice when you're in the Student Union, you should notice that Wi-Fi is much improved here. This is just part of the program. We are going back to all the academic buildings, but one of our engineers is going to be expecting a baby pretty soon, so we're going to delay that until she comes back from that. But that is going to be something we're going building by building and improving the Wi-Fi in all of our buildings. We have replaced some security cameras and added some new security camera locations throughout the university. If you live in the residence halls, or have constituents that live in the residence halls. One of the big complaints that we had last year was it was very difficult for students to register their devices and get on the Wi-Fi network. So we've been working with the provider, which is called Apogee, to come up with a new registration process, so that's in place. So I haven't heard any feedback of problems that students have had this year, but we're going to be meeting with Apogee tomorrow to look through the tickets that have been submitted. But from what I hear, I think everything is much better this year. Another thing that Apogee has provided us and Robert's team with is a TV station, a channel. Some of the content, live sporting events, and recorded sporting events, and some events on campus are streamed through Charter or Spectrum across the state. But now we also are able to stream that and broadcast that on campus as well through Apogee's Stream 2 service. So that's live. Well, let's see. We retired Mavnet Encrypted Wi-Fi network. We're trying to get everybody to register all their devices on EduRoam, the EduRoam Wi-Fi network. And the benefit of that is that if your Star ID password ever changes, it's not going to affect your Wi-Fi at all. So your laptops, phones, and things like that, tell everybody to get their devices onto EduRoam. And an added benefit to that, if you ever do happen to go to another university or college that has an EduRoam network, it's just going to automatically connect and it'll work. Let's see. We have enrolled some of our other network services into multi-factor authentication, which might be kind of a hassle if you're trying to log in and then you have to use your phone to authenticate, but it is much more secure. So it is going to continue to be expanded through some of the, hopefully, e-services and Workday that's going to be coming soon is all going to be multi-factor, but it does provide much better security for students and protects you and your data. Let's see. Verizon finally, after 6 years, has upgraded and we now have 5G service on campus for Verizon, which is great. Something students have been asking for a long time. We've been updating some equipment in the classrooms. Some of the equipment that we've been pulling out of classrooms is 12 years old and hasn't been functioning that well, so we continue with classroom upgrades as we do every year. We've replaced 250 student computers in computer labs, which is not all of them, but it's a portion of them. So we're replacing our oldest computers. IT Solutions has also been working with colleges and departments throughout the university on a digital transformation from taking paper processes where you have to fill out a paper form and hand that around. We've been digitizing that. So we've been working with departments on doing that. The added benefit to students is it's much more efficient to do an electronic form, and then there's an electronic workflow that goes along with that. Finally, we've moved our solution center main solution center from Wisink Hall over to the basement of the Student Union. And we've also added a new location, first floor of Memorial Library, so that we can help students with technology problems out a lot better. So that's the big things that we've done over summer break. One thing too, we were talking about committees. John was talking about committees not too long ago. One of the committees that you can be involved in is the Student Tech Fee Committee. And what we do is we take some students, we teach them about all the technology throughout the university, and we get your ideas on what kind of technology we should do in the future, what works well, what doesn't work well, what we can improve on, and what we need to do to position our services for students in the future. Your student tech fees is about $3 million, and we need a lot of student input on giving us direction on what we can do with that $3 million every year. So if you're interested in that, you can send your request to President Roeger, who can appoint you to that committee. And we've also had some requests that the student government may want to do a tour of technology around campus as well. So we'll see if we can get something like that arranged for you as well. That's all I have for right now. I will stand for questions.
All right, are there any questions? Sir, Brent, Bryant?
Has there been any problems with students logging into EduRoam?
There have been some issues that students have. A lot of it is you really have to read the directions. But our Solution Center is available in case you do have any problems. You can stop in, chat, email, or do a phone call, and we can step you through that process, yeah.
Any further questions that are all attaching?
So what medium was the announcement or the transition for the MavNet to the Eduroam? What medium was used to announce to the student, and was there instructions there?
Yeah, Eduroam has been available for 2 years. So we've been doing communications and newsletters and MavLife on our website. We've been trying to get people to transition onto Eduroam for about 2 years, but now we're taking in some of our oldest and not so very secure MavNet encrypted, and we've finally retired that, and now we're asking everybody to go onto Eduroam. The bad part about Eduroam is that nobody knows what the heck that is when they see it. When they're trying to get on Wi-Fi, they say, "What is Eduroam?" But that is an international Wi-Fi network for education, for higher education, and we're trying to get everybody on that now, and it's really secure and it's good.
Sarah Veer?
So you're the person I will come to if I have like any concerns or even a project on the when it comes to like the MavLife app.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so can I get like, well, I'd get it after your own email and probably your office number after.
Absolutely,
If
yeah.
you're still here by
Yep,
then.
yep, we appreciate your feedback, yes.
Any other questions? Senator Mohammed?
What is, well, let me ask, does Eduroam kick students out every 2 hours?
Eduroam does not kick people off. Once you're on Eduroam, you can use it as much as you want. What we do have on the other network that we have, MavNet, that we allow you to log into, but that one is limited to 2 hours, and that's pretty intentional because we have to have a way that you can get onto Eduroam, so that allows you to get onto Eduroam, but we do limit it to 2 hours, and then you have to re-authenticate to it. And that's intentional to try to get people onto Eduroam, because once you get onto Eduroam, you're gold. You don't ever have to deal with it again. If your password changes, it's not going to affect Eduroam.
Sarah Aladeji?
So the Apogee Wi-Fi you talked about,
Yep.
I've had a couple of students complain about that in the residence hall about having problem logging in. So what helpful information can be given to them regarding troubleshooting that? And then what is the time that you feel like that issue will be resolved?
Okay, support for the Wi-Fi network in the residence hall is provided by a company called Apogee, and on the website and maybe in some of the material that's left in all of the rooms, or when students pick up their keys, they should have a telephone number, email address, a way to chat through the website. There's multiple ways that you can get Apogee for support, and every time somebody contacts Apogee, they put in a ticket, and then they track how long it takes to answer that call and close that call and what that call is. And what we do every month is IT Solutions, along with ResLife, we have a call with Apogee, and we go over all those calls to find out what kind of problems students are having, how long it's taken to get the resolution to that. So as long as they call in and get help from Apogee, then we can track those requests. Yep.
Sarah Veer, you have another question?
Why is it separate? Why is the academic Wi-Fi separate from the residential hall Wi-Fi?
There are advantages for having your resident network separate from the university network, and a lot of it is because that way we don't have to care what students do when they're at home, in their apartments, when they're in the residence halls. We don't have to. We have a lot of restrictions on the statewide network and things that we have to track, but that way it's a residence and it's separate from the university network.
But I still have like access to certain, like I could log into different websites still on it, regardless of it. Is there some type of firewall that this has that don't?
Senator Revere, I'm going to go ahead and strike that question
Yeah.
just on a professional level. Senator Kanza, your question?
Actually, I just want to ask that Eduroam is there some problem with the laptops or what? I'm not able to connect that to my laptop. When I just try to do it, it asks as user ID and password, when I'm putting my user ID and password as my university, then I'm not able to open that. So I think it's about a laptop or what? I don't understand that.
Yep. To get onto Eduroam, you first go to wifi.mnsu.edu, and then if you have issues with that, you can visit our Solution Center and they can help get that set up for you.
If there are any other questions on Wi-Fi, I recommend that you take a nice visit down to IT Solutions.
Yes.
That being said, Senator Rala.
While we're talking about Solution Center, I know ITS pulled out of WissenCall. Can you give us an update about that and how the timeline looked like about it as well?
Sure.
Are we entirely pulled out of WissenCall? Do we still have technicians that can help us out over at WissenCall, or how does it look like?
Yeah. We opened a location in the lower level of the student union a year ago, 2 years ago,
Maybe 3.
3 years ago. Time flies. Time flies. And what we found is that location was much busier for walk-up traffic. So, and we were not getting a lot of traffic over in Wissink. So, working with some of the people in the library that are very interested in rethinking what the library is, the library commons, in a place that students can get all kinds of resources for students. And a lot of this planning is ongoing and it's going to be transitioning over the next few years. But one of the things that they found is really effective, as they've been looking at other colleges and universities across the country, is that students really need technology help right in the library. So that's one of the things that they've asked us to provide. So we open up that location, but we don't get a lot of foot traffic over in WissenCall, and that's why we deprecated that and moved it over to the library and a little more focus on the basement of the student union.
Sir Kasum.
So it's gonna be like permanently closing WissenCall?
I wouldn't say permanent, but that's the plan for right now. The first floor of WissenCall is going to be, one of the things that I didn't mention is that there's a new esports room that's in there. It's a competition stage room. So that's an addition. We had an old telepresence equipment system, a big 3-screen deal that was deprecated, so we took that out and then we put esports competition stage in that room. But what we're doing is we're rethinking what that whole center should be and how it can be better utilized to serve students. So a lot of that is ongoing. We're still doing some planning and getting some feedback of what the university needs in the future for that space.
Are there any other questions? Any other questions? Seeing none. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Thank you all.
Is there anyone else for open forum? Anyone else for open forum? Alrighty, then we will proceed onwards to officer reports, beginning with President Roiger.
Well, hello everyone. I'm so glad I could be in person this week. Sorry about last week. Got, sick first week of school trying to do everything. Don't do that. So for my update this week, today I got to meet with some folks from Students United, our state chair, Marwa, who's from St. Cloud State. Got to do some planning for their visit. That'll be happening on September 27th. So Students United will be on campus. We'll be meeting with different areas such as, I still have to reach out to these areas, so no emails have been sent, but we're going to be reaching out to Multicultural Center, Food Pantry, Kearney International Center, and as well as the Women's Center and other areas. And we're going to be meeting to talk about some of our priorities on both the state and federal advocacy level, as well as the campus level, some things that we could do better here. Today we were able to have lunch with Dean Corley as well as some of his team members. And a few things we talked about was the Maverick Textbook Reserve. They purchased over $5,400 worth of ebooks over summer. And they have books that are for over 358 courses currently on their website. So make sure you're checking it out. Some of them are limited license to only like 3 people can use them. Some of them are unlimited, but make sure you're spreading the word about that resource. It's really, really good. And make sure that your books are there so you're not buying them. And then, so sorry, I'm reading through my notes. And then we got to take a tour of the library to kind of see some of their ideas and their goals with some of the spaces they have in there. And just got to talk about some different ideas we had about ways they can better support our students. And then, in addition, I just want everyone to start thinking about possibly attending the Students United Advocacy Conference. This is something I'll mention time and time again. It's in November. It's the very first weekend of November. However, this year they're allowing us up to 15 people, and last year we had the most in attendance, so we want to keep up that streak, beat out St. Cloud, beat out Bemidji, and really just be able to make sure all of us can learn how to better advocate on a state level for our students and for what we need. Other than that, I am going to be out all day Friday because I'm visiting the state fair for the first time. And then Monday I am out of office as well since it is Labor Day and there's no classes. So if you need me, email me. Otherwise, that's really all I got.
Perfect. Are there any questions for President Royger? Any questions? Any questions? Perfect. Then we'll proceed on to Vice President Mesta's report.
Hi everyone. Just one thing too to note. Last week we met with one of our donors who used to be involved in student government in their time. One of the things they discussed was more GOTV work for the next. If you guys don't know, we have a presidential election in 2024, so ramping that up to get more voters for the fall. Other things we've done so far, we've done a lot of planning for the year, structuring, meeting with our coordinators to start planning their roles. Like Sierra said, we met with Dean Corley of the library, understanding what they've been working on, and some of the structure that Armstrong Building will be included with their building. I also want to thank Abby, Amal, Mira for helping with tabling with us today. Really appreciate that. We got a lot of sign-up sheets, so there seems to be a lot of students interested in joining student government, either in committees or through Senate. And then I just want to have one final remember. So this past Sunday, our speaker had their birthday. So I just want to give a shout out, happy birthday to our speaker, Douglas.
Thank you so much, Vice President Mesta. Are there any questions for Vice President Mesta? Any questions for Vice President Mesta? Any questions? Seeing none, then I'll go on to my report. So first thing, I talked over to Michelle over in MIT to get a few understandings of some of the issues we've been having over in Mav Central. And the most exciting thing has occurred. Mav Central has uploaded all but 100 students. So only 100 people are being left out in terms of Mav Central, but they are working on adding them. So very soon, for any vacancy or committee interest sheets on Mav Central should be almost accessible to every student on this campus very, very soon. But theoretically, for the most part, all our forms should be available, visible, and accessible to the student body for the most part. However, for these next couple weeks, we will be allowing anyone to come in without completing a vacancy form to run for a Senate position, just considering that there are some people that still do not have access, though if you know friends and folks who are looking to go into those vacancies, do tell them that it is available on the Mav Central form, and it makes it a bit easier. But other than that, that's the big thing over there for Mav Central. The second thing, in terms of senator office hours, as a reminder, your goal is 45 hours, preferably an estimated 3 hours a week. However, recognizing that might vary depending on time. I would like it, if it is possible, that we get those office hours updated kind of on a bi-weekly basis. So if you could send me the office hours that you've so far completed on a bi-weekly, so this would be the first bi-weekly. So if you can send me whatever you've gotten done, whether that's committee meetings, project meetings, or time that you're, doing tabling. For example, earlier today, if you were part of that tabling crew, that's some office hours that you get to count. Any of those items, go ahead and for this first time, send me an email of all those hours on Friday, if at all possible, so I can start getting your hours organized. Starting hopefully by next week, I should have a form specific for that on Mav Central. But at this time, as we are slowly getting things on Mav Central, I do not have that form yet on Mav Central. So for this cycle, for this one and this one only, please email me your office hours for this week. As a reminder, we will be permitting electronics in meetings. You might notice a fair number of computers out, and this is so you can have access. Eventually, we will have our agendas, the minutes, all of the resolutions, pretty much everything virtually on terms of your devices, so you can be able to look at them on there. And that is for us to save paper. We all at the same time. The fourth thing that I have is starting next week, we will be starting to experiment with digital voting for vacancy elections. That won't be for this week. Still figuring that out a little bit in terms of the ability for that to be anonymous for the purposes of our voting processes, and still working out some things to get, some official counts for the non-anonymous votes that can be sent out to be confirmed to the public. But we will be experimenting with digital voting next week. There will still be a paper version of it available, but it's just a way for us to start testing some of these new things to allow us to be more digitally adept. Some of you got the opportunity in our joint committee earlier to get our Senate onboarding form. Once you get those onboarding forms done, you should have placards coming your way soon. So if you do not have a placard or want your pronouns on your placard, that will be coming soon. The other thing that I'll note real quick, because some of you have been asking about the website, we should be able to get the website updated fairly soon. I'm working with Amber, and we're waiting on Amber to be able to get all of that website updates. But you should be able to see the Senate roster on the website and some of those the Mav Central links on the website, hopefully by next week. But that should be coming soon. And last thing, you should expect an invite between either this week or sometime next week for Teams, so you can access that as well. That is all I believe that I needed to cover. Are there any questions for me? Senator Bryant?
I read that we are supposed to attend one DEI event as a senator, so does that count as office hours?
That will count as an office hour.
Okay.
To note, that would be going into the bylaw amendment in the resolutions, which you all will be voting and discussing later. Are there any other questions? Any other questions? Cool. Thank you so much. Sadly, our Dean of the Day, once again, unfortunately had some family stuff come up and they needed to be away, so hopefully they are doing well, and hopefully their family situation gets resolved soon. But we do want to announce our newest addition to the Senate meetings that we will be adding on is our resource of the day, Emma Johnson. To note, our resource of the day is us acknowledging, first off, a different area each week to say thank you for that group and their wonderful work, but also so senators and the student body is aware of the many different programs that we have on our campus. Emma, if you want to say a few short words, you may. Otherwise, whatever you would like to say or introduce yourself in terms of the reporter.
Thank you, Speaker Roberts. So, hi everyone, my name is Emma Johnson. I am the editor-in-chief for the MSU Reporter, and we are the campus newspaper published twice weekly, both as a physical copy and online, with editions coming out Tuesdays and Thursdays, so make sure you pick up a copy tomorrow. Our 3 sections, news, sports, and variety, cover the range of events and organizations on campus, as well as sharing the stories of students, faculty, and alumni. We are currently, as of tonight, working on our 4th issue of the year and have seen high pickup numbers for the first 3 issues. Copies are flying off of the stands, and our webpage is seeing high traffic numbers with a few hundred views per story. Our staff is also increasing as well, with over 7 hires over the last 2 weeks, bringing our total staff number up to 30. We are also planning to expand into multimedia this year with another season of our Making of a Maverick podcast, as well as starting up a sports podcast later this fall. We are always looking for story ideas, so if you have one you would like to pitch, we have a suggestion box at our front desk in CSU 293, just down the hall from the Student Government Office. We are open Monday through Friday from 8 to 4:30 in the afternoon. And if you have a suggestion, make sure to pick up a coupon book as well. There's loads of great deals for the community and a few of the organizations here on campus. Do any of you have, may I stand for questions?
Yes, you may stand for questions. Are there any questions for our amazing and wonderful editor-in-chief of the Reporter? Senator Leistico.
It's not a question, but I just want to say you guys have always done a really great job, and I've always been impressed with the work and the news you guys put out. So thank you for the work you guys do.
Thank you. We appreciate hearing that.
Are there any other questions, comments? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we noticed that Dean Veltzos was on Zoom and said that they could fill in. Dean Veltzos, are you with us?
I am here.
Perfect.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to, as I like to say, Happy New Year. It is, this time of year is probably more important to me than the January 1st New Year. So welcome back to our new academic year. This one is particularly important to me because this year I've got a student who is starting at MSU, and so you're representing him along with all of the other 15,000 or 14,000 students that we have at the institution. So as you've been told already by others, you are serving a crucially important role for the university here, representing the voice of the students. So I am the Associate Vice President for Curriculum and Dean of Graduate Studies. That means that I oversee the academic curriculum, and I kind of have my hands in pretty much anything having to do with academic courses or programs, from concurrent enrollment in the high schools through our doctoral programs. I am a member of the Council of Deans. You'll hear us referred to every now and then. And you have a Dean of the Day. One of us will be joining you every week, although we kind of swap in and out when our schedules create problems. But the Council of Deans consists of an academic dean for each college, plus some what we call non-academic deans, meaning that we don't run a college or supervise faculty, but we do the academic work. And so we've got Dean of Graduate Studies, Dean of Library and Learning, Dean of Extended Campus, Dean of Global Ed. And then of course there is Provost Hood, which I believe some of you have met him already. We have our Associate Provost, Anna Dahlman, and she also oversees Global Ed. And then we have a Associate Vice President of Faculty Affairs and Equity Initiatives. So at one time or another, you're going to see one of these people popping into your meeting. We are resources who are available to you. If you have questions, if you want advice on how to run your projects or how to get started, those types of things, please do reach out to us for that. We have a couple of new deans who have joined us this year. Dr. Soon Bach is the new dean of the College of Business. He is replacing Dr. Brenda Flannery, who is now doing a special project. She's a special assistant to President Inch. We also have Dr. Mohammed Alam, who is the new permanent Dean of Science, Engineering, and Technology. You may recall Acting Dean Aaron Budge. He has moved back to his permanent role as Associate Dean of that college. And then, much to our surprise, and really to our sadness, Dean Jean Haar has announced that she'll be retiring at the end of this year. So we'll be doing a search for her replacement as well. Dean Jean, as a lot of her faculty call her, has been with the university. She started as a teacher here. She's been dean of that college for the last decade. She is an invaluable member of our community, and we're gonna miss her a lot. But I just wanted to say hello, tell you a little bit about who we are, how we can help, and please invite you to reach out to us if you ever have questions or need assistance. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Dean Veltas? Any questions? Any questions? Seeing none, thank you so much. With that being said, we will proceed onwards to Senator reports, and we have a Senator report from Senator Sharaf. Yes, you should be able to. We had magic for a moment.
Yeah, for a second.
Can we get some assistance from IT if possible? Do I have any motions for a very brief recess?
There we go.
There was something. Motion, please.
Okay, I hear a motion for a recess. How long is that recess motion?
So it's done. 5 minutes?
5 minutes? Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any dissent? Seeing no dissent, we are in recess for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yes, I tried it. Yeah. I had to check a couple websites for some names and title changes, but other than that, we can do it. No, I couldn't have done it. Fun. I love it. So,
That's a clock.
CL.
Yeah, but we passed fast.
I should just pass till it's done.
Because we can't make
No, I have something different.
what the amendment motion would be 5 minutes or since you have to have a definitive time to it. Any 5-minute break doesn't hurt.
No, especially because we still have elections.
Not excluded.
And that's gonna take
Less than an hour.
That's you and.
How's the experience for you guys this time?
This time
I mean, we had Zoom, so that was good.
Yeah, you're able to present and do all things. I don't know why you went first, it was Zoom. We should have. The one thing I did want to let you know is that when Zoom people come in like Jennifer, we're doing this beginning spotlight basically. So you guys are it most of the time, so when someone comes in, then we spotlight them. So we're basically controlling Zoom. So one thing I would leave for you guys is if someone wants to speak that has maybe a strange phone number or doesn't say who they are, which often happens unfortunately, we'll kind of have to have a hint from you guys as to who's actually supposed to be making. Does that make sense? Other than that, we're good. We're just spotlight right when we're done. So as long as we know who to spotlight, we've got someone operating inside.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
He's annoying me.
No fair. John went over the 10 minutes. he's gonna use his discretion to let them.
Yeah, I think it was John.
I never see it.
2 minutes. Click connect.
Yes, just like that. So I need time. Like I'm gonna get done. I'll get out.
We'll probably need to buy that. And that might take us a little bit of time. I mean,
I've been out there twice since we did it, so.
Well, the shuttle's got out there.
Yep.
Or wait until the launch
Oh, you got it.
Computers All right, we are now back into session, so if everyone can return to their seats, except for Amal. All right, Senator Sharab, whenever you're ready.
Yep, absolutely. So hello everyone. Today I'm gonna present something that I call PR and marketing strategy for this year, and this is basically a review of what I set as a goal for this committee and how we're gonna achieve this goal. Also, just as a reminder, I still want people in the community, so if you like what I'm gonna show, just please join me. Yep, 1 second.
Very sensitive.
It is.
You guys getting your workout here.
Maybe I.
If you're able to continue,
Yep, absolutely.
I meant to do Anderson.
So, you don't get to see the slides for a bit, but I have 3 goals here and the descriptions of them. The goal number 1, build community. And by this name, I mean that we, student government, are not really sometimes clear for students what we're doing, why we're doing this, and how we can help them. We don't get a lot of students texting us via social media. We don't get a lot of students coming to our office to talk about what's bothering them, or, oh yeah, or maybe something that's, I don't know, that's something that's they're happy about. So we need to work on that community. Goal number 2 is to bring awareness, and by that I mean we want to bring awareness about our resources available on campus for students besides just student government, and explain what student government is, try to help students more, and just talk to them whenever you're in the hallways and someone's seeking help and you understand that. Goal number 3 is showcase achievements, and by that I mean achievements of student government members as well as students in general, because students do a lot of work in campus and sometimes we don't really take time to appreciate it and give a gratitude to them. One example, as you have seen a little earlier today, was Emma Johnson for a great work that she's doing in the Reporter. With that, I'm going to the explanation of the tools for each of the goals that I have and some targets that we can measure. For building the community, goal number 1, we want to receive at least 10 messages weekly in our social media with students just reacting with emojis or asking questions or engaging with us. We want to invite 5 students weekly into the office. Of course, we won't do it without any, but if we know that a student might be interested in something concerning student government, we could invite them and just spend some time with them in the office, because that's what we're supposed to do. We can do tabling, and we can work on our PR materials around campus with the message to engage in conversations with us, because students sometimes don't know who our senators are, and that they can catch them in the hallway and just talk to them about something that's bothering them. And for that, we can also introduce each member of Student Senate to the community. The tools that we're gonna use are tabling, posters and flyers, space for community in the office, PR materials and gifts, tea, coffee, and treats in the office to make students feel comfortable there, and our social media, Instagram and TikTok. We want to post at least 3 posts per week and at least 7 stories per week. Yep. For goal number 2, bring awareness. Our target is to introduce resources once a week via our social media, such as Counseling Center, LGBTQ+ Center, and many other centers that people don't really talk about a lot on social media. And sometimes students just don't know that those exist. Offer help in the office, make students feel a little bit lighter about their academics and life in general. Understand what common concerns they have, to kind of like think about it and maybe include this in your projects that you might be still thinking about. And use our social media as a navigation site. And for that, we would use, for social media, we would work on better navigation there. Departments and offices on campus, creative life hacks and advices in our stories, and it could be anything. And if you have some ideas, you can share with me, and we could work on that. And we can encourage and create posts that help students text us, because people can be shy. We need to show them that we are open for that. Moving on. Goal number 3 is to showcase achievements, and the target is to explain the history behind some resources on our campus, because some of them were created with the help of student government, like reflection space wouldn't happen if not the former student government vice president. Show that our students' concerns are taken seriously, and create a sense of equality here, because when students come to us, we try to work on each concern, not just highlighting one huge one and ignoring the other one. Recognize student workers within and outside of Senate, and communicate with past leaders. And for tools, I said it's going to be publications on TikTok, time for gratitude and recognition during the meeting, invitations to join the meeting live, and online forms to submit a story or students to recognize during the meeting. And it's time for questions.
Are there any questions for our wonderful PR and marketing coordinator / Senator Sharaf? Senator Ali?
For the social medias, is it the same as the main school ones, or do we have a different handle?
We have our own Instagram and TikTok account, as well as LinkedIn page and Facebook page. So that would be something for student government. But there we cover, all of the resources, as I said, events, some general information, some upcoming student government related events, and all that kind of thing.
Any other questions, Senator Revere?
Just a statement. I like your plan here, and I'm already brainstorming on certain plans. So I can't wait to work with you on certain ideas. Cause I already spoke with him, and it looked like us 3 already have something going on. So we can
absolutely
get together later.
Join the committee. I'm gonna be happy.
Any other questions? Any other questions? All right, seeing none, thank you so much, Senator. With that being said, we get to our vacancies. So I have a couple announcements on vacancies. We have 3 off-campus senator vacancies, and they will all 3, ignore the one that says 9.13, September 13th. All 3 of these off-campus senator vacancies will be opened next week, September 6th. With that being said, are there any candidates for residential life? Seeing 2, if the 2 of you would like to move to the front of the room, otherwise over by the microphone. And before we get into this, we will go one at a time. And if you can just introduce your name and pronouns, if you're comfortable with that for us. We will not go into the speeches, the introduction speeches yet. We just want to get to know who you are just for a moment. So if your name and pronouns, that would be great. And then we will go to the other candidate for Res Life.
Oh, hello everyone, I'm Andrew. My pronouns are he, him, his.
Hello everyone, my name is Reed and my pronouns are he, him.
Perfect. Alrighty. The way that this is going to work is that we're just going to kind of rotate back and forth. I know that there was one application filed, there was another that wasn't, and that is perfectly fine. We're just going to do the great equalizer, and if you have questions that did not pertain or did pertain to that application, try for the entire Senate when we get to the questions phase to make sure that that is answerable by both candidates. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead, since Andrew introduced himself first, we will have Reed start off and go ahead and give the 2-minute introduction of why they are running for Senate.
Hello, as I said, my name is Reed Beckerman. I am a sophomore here at Minnesota State, and I am currently an international relations major, and I live in Prescott. I also currently serve on the community council, and I did last year as well. I am currently running for student senate to hopefully bring a better voice of the residential halls to the student government. I did it this year. I'm working on it this year in community council as well as I did it last year, and I hope that I will be able to bring a voice for Prescott as well as the other residential halls to the student government.
Thank you so much. We will now have Andrew for a maximum of 2 minutes.
Okay. Oh, hello, I'm Andrew. Yeah, so I'm in student. Yep, so I'm planning to be a senator in student government. Take your time. So yes, the major I'm going into is accounting, political science, and minor in sociology. This is my 3rd academic year here at MNSU. I have 2 years here as a PSCO student. So this is my first year as a residential student. I'm looking forward to being here to give more residential perspective as I'm able to isolate that perspective away from academics. And I'm just looking forward to just getting perspective here at MSU by just being part of organizations, being part of the and looking to be part of the Senate.
Thank you so much. Get those nerves going, get those nerves off, and it's all good. All right, with that being said, we will now open it up to our senators to ask questions of the candidates. And for the order of this, we will just go back and forth between the order in which you spoke. So Andrew, you would start in terms of each question, and then we would go back to Reed depending on how many questions back and forth. With that being said, we have a question from Senator Revere.
What is one bad experience that you had in a residential hall that you wish you could have made better?
Probably just looking at the regulation of everything with between the boys and girls dorms, because there's a lot of conflict between boys potentially harassing girls inside a lot of the dorms. So I wish there was a lot more direct and almost immediate repercussions to that rather than just a warning off into the week.
Thank you. Reed?
One thing that I can specifically think of is in Prescott there is laundry rooms on each floor, however there's only 3 machines in there, so a lot of times those can get very competitive as they're shared between like 50 people. So that would be one issue that I would probably bring up that would come to mind first about directly concerning residents in the hall that I know.
Alright. Is there any other questions? Senator Goma?
As you present yourself here for to be a senator, do you have any goals?
At the moment, my goal is just to get perspective here at the get perspective here at student government. I would love to attend all the meetings. I would love to just be a part of a lot of committees and just understand student government. And also, once I do gain perspective, I'd love to just have those create more goals along the way, and then just keep trying to look for stuff to improve with the university.
I have no specific goals on the top of my head, but like Andrew said, bring a perspective of residential life to the student government, as well as a voice to the student, to the residential hall, to the student government.
Perfect. To note, Reed would go next. We would go back and forth in that order to give opportunity for somebody to answer the question first. Senator Sharaf, you have a question?
Yep. Can you tell us about your hobbies?
My hall?
Your hobbies, just.
Oh, hobbies.
Yeah.
I do, hobbies would probably for me include traveling. I do enjoy, as an international relations major, I do enjoy indulging in politics. I have friends where we talk about that kind of stuff, so student government is always something I've kind of looked at doing. Also, like fishing, I'm from Brainerd, so a lot of fishing I've done with family and stuff. Traveling is another big one. Those would probably be the ones that come first at the top of my head.
For first thing comes to mind for me is D&D. I really love watching it, and then I would love to join a group over on campus. Another thing I would love to do is just be part of a lot of organizations here at MSU, such as the Neurodiversity Club, Student Government Events Team, and a lot of other organizations here. I also just love to go on runs.
Are there any other questions for the candidate? Senator Oladeji?
So what motivates you to get things done?
Probably just looking at the deadlines of everything. It's like, okay, this stuff has this stress and and all this stuff has like an expiration date where it's like I have to get this done in a very efficient manner while still producing a high-end product.
Sorry, Reed?
Well, there's a good amount of things. Probably some of the more important things that like directly motivate me probably would be my family. I know they're always looking out for me and support me, and I'd like to do them proud. And yeah, that's probably the biggest one I can think of.
Any other questions? No. Senator Ralla?
Any student government vacancy is incomplete without this question. What would you say your greatest strength and weakness are?
Ooh. Greatest strength would probably be I can say I'm pretty reliable with getting stuff done in a timely manner. I would hope. I guess when it comes to like this kind of stuff specifically, I'm not the best speaker. I get nerves a little bit, but yeah, that would probably be it.
Probably for my biggest strength, I love being in supportive roles. I love just doing stuff in the backgrounds. I love to draft emails. I really like to just do the extra go to the extra stuff for research and all that and everything like that. And probably no one would guess this. Probably public speaking is probably my biggest weakness.
Are there any other questions, Senator Revere?
Why Minnesota? Why did you choose this school?
I'm going to go ahead and strike that question, as that might lead to personal bias.
Oh no,
Are there any other questions? Senator Kanza?
I just want to ask that, do you think the residential students are having some problems which you want to point it out?
I will also strike that question, as that question has already been answered by both candidates. Are there any other questions? Any other questions? Seeing no further questions, we will provide a closing statement, and since Andrew happens to be at the podium right now, you will have upwards to 1 minute for your closing statement.
Sounds good. Like I've already stated, I would love to be part of student government. I would enjoy to attend all the student government meetings. I would enjoy to do at least 3 to 4 committees, and also just to make an impact to Senate hours. And I would just appreciate that.
So much, Reed.
As what has been the kind of common theme of these speeches is helping the student body here, and for us specifically, the residential life students, and I hope that I can bring that voice to the student body. I would love to work with all of you and hopefully make this campus better for everyone.
Alrighty, thank you very much. So now we are going to go to this procedure of discussion. You do have the option of staying in the room while we have the discussion of your fate, or you have the ability to leave the room. It is up to you to decide which you prefer. Either way you decide, if you go out there, we will come collect you once the election results are done. But if you want to stay in here while they are discussing, feel free to take a seat in the gallery. Alrighty, before we get into the discussion for all of you, as a note, I wanted to make a note that there are more vacancies than the number of candidates. So when it does come to voting, this would be a purely yes or no on both candidates. With that being said, are there any discussion points on the candidates? Vice President Mesta?
Hi everyone, so I think both candidates are really great. I think they're going to bring a lot of experience and they're brand new. So I know a lot of us experience, but having new senators with new perspectives who are going to learn is a great experience. I think they're excited. I think they're ready. Listening to their what they want to do and be more involved with residential life and get involved and work with us, I think we should vote yes.
Are there any other discussion points? Senator Narala?
I agree with Vice President Mesta. I think it takes a lot of courage to stand up to a student body and give a speech, apply as a candidate for student government, and I really applaud their confidence in speaking in front of all of us today. I'll be voting yes for both of the candidates. Thank you.
Are there any other discussion points? Seeing none, I'm just going to assume that, I'm sorry, discussion.
As they're getting ready to vote, your ballot, if you would just do a number one. Number 1 is for Andrew. Number 2 is for Reed, okay? And then your options are yes, no, or abstain. And then the speaker and I will collect these and be able to tally them up, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, so number 1 is for Andrew. Andrew, can you raise your hand again so everybody knows who you are? Okay, Reed, can you raise your hand again so everybody sees who you are? Okay, so for 1, Andrew, yes, no, or abstain. For 2, Reed, yes, no, or abstain. Okay? And I am going to come to this side of the table as the speaker goes to the other side of the table. Yes, because there are 2 candidates, so put 1 and then yes, no, or abstain. And then 2, yes, no, or abstain.
Say the tiniest piece of
2 years from now, he'll probably be the president.
But you're not wrong, which is the hard part.
7, 8.
You have to actually push it to travel.
You definitely use one very carefully.
I
My favorite spring Gotcha.
Yeah.
Bear with me for a second.
It's $1, it's cheap, it's part of the agreement. $1, fully charged. And that's what we adopted last spring, it's $3 per hour. Just sit there all day.
Sure. Okay. Alrighty, we've had a wonderful election. So if Andrew and Reed can come up to the front of the room. We have had an amazing election. And I would like to congratulate both Andrew and Reed from becoming our new residential life senators. Congratulations. If you can raise your right hand and repeat after me, I may have written this correct. So, but if I didn't, then John might correct me sometime in the middle of it.
Here has it by email to you right now.
Okay. I've got it right here. Perfect. All right. I state your name.
I, Andrew Colleran,
will represent and serve
will represent and serve
the students of Minnesota State University Mankato
The students of Minnesota State University Mankato
in student life
in student life
and academic needs,
and academic needs,
and will uphold the mission, constitution, and bylaws
and will uphold the mission, constitution, and bylaws
of student government.
of student government.
I so affirm.
I so affirm.
I so affirm.
You can take a seat anywhere around the table. There are limited seats, so you kind of know where you are. You might want, for both of you, want to be near a computer so you can see the resolutions that we're working on, as there is no physical copy of any of these resolutions anymore. With that being said, we will proceed. With that being said, we will proceed onwards to new business with our bylaws update amendment. Motion by Vice President Mesta and seconded by Senator Narala. Vice President Mesta, do you wish to speak on your motion for the amendment?
Yes, I do. Hi, everyone. So the reason we brought these bylaws changes was to create the basic needs coordinator position as an official position. It's also to create the hierarchy structure. So in case the three of us go away, in case we go on vacation, we just don't make it back, there is a form that one of our coordinators will take over until the election process happens. But it's just a way to kind of what's been in place but hasn't been actually in there. We've also included, what was the other? My brain's going off.
Office hours change.
Office hour changes have been happened. So instead of it being exclusively 3 hours a week, it will now be an accumulation of office hours. So that way, you know, if it's a dead week or you need somebody to, or you have some personal things to do or homework, you can handle that while also still accumulating your office hours. And I'll pass that on to our next one.
Does the second wish to speak on the motion?
Yes, thank you. Just to expand a little bit and piggyback off of what Vice President mentioned, over the summer, the Executive Board did an extensive research on our policies, our bylaws, and we came up with a resolution to kind of change the wording of a lot of things. We've added a bunch of descriptions for a lot of the coordinator positions. We've added a bunch of new word lines, just to kind of make things neat in our bylaws. It is a long document and I hope you had plenty of time reading it. We have added a bunch of new things, as the Vice President mentioned, the presidential line of succession, a new coordinator position, just to make things official. And yeah, at this point we stand for questions.
Are there any questions on the motion? Senator Prick?
I did go through the resolution and it mentions a section where it has something to say about senator pay. I would request either of you to put some highlight on that because the document is too long, so I don't think everyone's going to go through that.
Yes, so for senator pay, we changed it from shall to may, because as I mentioned last week, we are in the situation where senator pay was cut from the last budget meeting, so we're in a situation where we don't have the funds to pay you guys. So we're just creating that change. Now, if we want senator back, we would have to go for our next budget meeting, but unfortunately, it was cut last year.
Thank you.
Senator Revere?
Are we voting on it or are we just discussing it?
At this time, this is just a period of questions, then we will proceed on to discussion.
Okay.
Our Vice President Mesta.
Oh wait, this is a accident.
Okay. Are there any other questions on the motion? All right, then we will proceed on to discussion points. Are there any discussion points on the motion? Senator Revere?
The first point I have is, what was the prior procedure for section 1 and all the subsection A through B?
Could you be more specific?
What was the prior procedure the word you added? The senator may receive special exceptions at the discretion of the speaker and a result of emergencies. Was it an unwritten law? Or?
So yeah, this has kind of been something that the reason of discretion is in case of a situation, a family problem, or something that's out of the senator's control, so we don't hold them accountable. Because otherwise, you know, we try to be strict with our meetings, but we understand that if a situation happens, family life, that we will try to work with you.
Senator Revere, do you have another question?
Yeah, I read it, what's the motion? I'd rather kill this motion because I'd rather keep it an unsaid law. I mean, from here, if you don't count Thanksgiving and winter and finals week, we only have 14 meetings. That means you have to at least make 7 and not miss 2. So I don't think we need to hand power over to the senator. I mean to the speaker. Or just use better language.
Is there a second on the motion to kill the amendment?
Can I ask a question?
At this time, no, I'm looking for a second on the motion. Seeing no second on the motion, that motion fails. Vice President Mesta, did you wish to be recognized?
Yeah, so we don't meet on the week of Thanksgiving or any holidays if it's on a Wednesday. So there is that. It doesn't say it, but it's how we operate is that we don't meet, like, so Thanksgiving we don't meet.
Yeah, I understand that.
Senator Revere?
What I'm saying is, why give power over to the speaker when it's only 7 meetings? You only have to make 7 meetings and not miss 2 in a row. I think that was enough said instead of handing more power to a speaker for him to use his discretion and biasness.
I think it's more of keeping senators accountable rather than giving the speaker the power. We're holding senators accountable for meetings that they should be attending anyways, that we're being elected to attend. And you're more so saying that the speaker is keeping notes if the senators are attending those meetings or not, and not giving them the power entirely to just expel senators and stuff, if that answers the question.
What I'm saying, he has the discretion to decide use his biasness to decide what is an emergency and what is not.
I'm going to go ahead and just try to respond to this, considering the prior elements of the bylaws. Historically, the speaker has been given the ability to excused for a variety of emergencies. And to just say it's just been a thing that has existed for a long time. It's never been formally put into the bylaws. This is basically giving a safety net for, let's say something really bad happens, like a family member passes away. Wouldn't you as a senator want to take care of your personal affairs and have that opportunity to do that without the fear of repercussions coming to you? It was mainly, as I understand it in terms of the past, purely just a way to give the opportunity for a senator to still be part of Senate without having to resign because of an emergency or be penalized. Senator Revere.
What I was saying is, it was already a written rule, and so I would just wanted to keep it an unwritten rule.
Vice President Mesta or Senator Naral, do you have a response to that?
I think we should just keep it as it is. This just gives, again, if it's already been an unwritten rule, we should just keep it as a rule that we've put on here, so that's there. Because otherwise, what we're gonna do is just say, oh no, this senator has a family emergency, it's too bad, you're out. So I think we should keep this so it's formalized.
Sir Bryant?
We have a committee of ethics and standards that you can report to if you feel like someone's being unbiased or being biased, to keep everyone in check, by the way.
Yeah, this wasn't for you. This is just for future, for a future speaker that if he has a discretion, if he see this in the way they interpret it, based off how he interpret it, act as that.
Are there any other discussion points? Any other discussion points? There's a motion.
Motion to expedite. Based on the recommendations provided by the Vice President in our joint committee meetings and the discussions that we've had, as we've mentioned earlier, we're looking forward to expedite this motion. That is to say that generally when resolutions are presented to Senate, it takes a 2-week time, but when we expedite things, we're essentially saying we'd like to shorten the 2-week version into 1 week, so we'd be voting on it today. And I'd like to move the resolution forward over and expedite.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seeing multiple seconds, is there any dissent? Seeing that there is a dissent, we will go ahead and vote on this. So by a raise of placards for yes, please raise or just raise your hand if you support the expediting of this motion.
Wait, you mean the entire motion?
Yes.
This whole.
The expediting it to voting on.
I mean, like every section in here.
Yes.
Well, I have one more question then before that, for another section.
This is not. I apologize, but this is not the time to ask those questions. This is a voting period. Okay. All those against? Seeing a clear majority exceeding 2/3, this motion passes. The motion is expedited. With that being said, are there any further motions or discussion points? Senator Revere.
I also have a motion to modify the word, to amend the wording of section, let me find it, to section A of the diversity program.
Which section and subsection is that?
Subsection A, where it says where you change the language from encourage to require. I believe DEI or diversity in general is something you should force. It's something that should be genuine, and it's something that should be continue to be encouraged. I know it's just one event, but words do matter, and I don't want to it shouldn't be forced. You shouldn't be forced to be diverse. It should be genuine and willing. So I would like to motion to amend from to amend requirement to encourage, back to encourage.
To encourage, okay. Is there a second on that motion? Seeing no second, that motion dies. Oh, sorry, is there a second? Seeing a second, multiple seconds, we will now go into a discussion phase on the motion to amend the diversity programs from required to encouraged. Is there any discussion points? Senator Speltz.
Question, could you give me like is it point A, B? I'm just trying to figure out where to look at.
I apologize.
Just real quick.
It is above. It's above section 7 of violations. It is the line below. Be it resolved, student government shall amend Article 1, Section 4, subsection A, to read as follows. Subsection A, diversity programs. Each student government member is required to attend at least one diversity-related event each semester, and attendance should be reported during scheduled senator, coordinator, or officer reports or in their office hours. Attendance at one of these events shall count as one office hour.
Okay, thank you.
The language that would be changed at that point is from required to encouraged. Are there any discussion points on this? Vice President Mesta.
So the reason why we changed it to required is because we feel it's important for our senators to go out to the communities and actually get involved with groups that they're not normally used to engaging with. So that's why we're doing this, because we want to be an equity minded and we hold a lot of responsibilities to represent everybody. And this is one event, so it can be anything that's required from the DEI, LGBT, women's, or any equity minded event that's on campus. It's just a way for our senators to be involved more than what they have normally been.
Senator Revere.
I think we're going to automatically end up filling that requirement to regardless. What I'm saying is the wording. In this day and age where the narrative of DEI and diversity, with the narrative going on and people being misinformed of what diversity is and what DEI is, I believe that, like I said, diversity is something that should be encouraged, not required. And you forcing something on people, breeds resentment. And diversity and force should not be something. Diversity and force, and the words force and requirement should not be something that should coexist together. It should be willing and it should be genuine. If you don't want to be diverse, that's your belief. You don't have to. But altogether, I would just state in the wording, because wording is important. They're not listening.
Okay. Apologize. We were receiving a clarification from our advisor. The amendment cannot be expedited. So the expediting of the amendment is taken off.
Motion withdrawn.
Motion withdrawn? Okay. However, on the amendment we're still discussing that, but in terms of the entire amendment resolution itself, we cannot expedite that. That was a mistake I made. I apologize for that. With that being said, are there further discussion points on Senator Revere's amendment? Sarah Bryant?
I think when we apply and run for this position, we are basically saying that we are supporting diversity, equity, and inclusion. So if you don't support that, you shouldn't be on the committee.
Senator Revere?
Well, what I'm saying, with the current climate that is bigger than us on the national level, DEI is being portrayed something else. And when you put words like require and enforce next to DEI, it gives it a bad, or if you put it next to diversity, it gives it a bad name. That's what I'm saying here. So I'd rather keep the words encourage than keep it requirement. You shouldn't be required to do something, even if it's wrong. You shouldn't be required to do something you don't believe in, even if you don't believe in diversity. We still should just encourage it.
Are there any further discussion points on the amendment? Seeing no further discussion points on the amendment, we do vote on these kinds of amendments. So with that being said, if there are no other discussion points, we will now take that amendment to a vote. So if you are voting yes on Senator Revere's amendment, please raise your placard at this time. If you are voting against Senator Revere's amendment, please raise your placard now. Or hand. If you are abstaining from the amendment, please raise your placard or hand now. Alrighty. In a vote to 7 to 11 to 2, this amendment fails. We are now back to discussion on the main motion. That is the bylaw amendment. Are there any discussion points? Senator Leistico?
As another amendment I'd like to make in that same subsection A, I'd like to change the last sentence to read, attendance at one of these events shall count towards our office hours for the duration of the event. Scratching the 1 hour it counts and instead for the full duration. It's better including DEI events that extend more than 1 hour and fully recognizes the time spent at these events.
Is this amendment accepted?
Accepted as friendly amendment.
It is accepted as a friendly amendment. This does not require a vote. Are there any further discussion points? Yes. Any further discussion points? Seeing no further discussion points, this will be moved to old business for next week to be voted upon. We will now proceed on over to old business for the meme wall resolution. Motion by Vice President Mesta, seconded by Senator Narala. Would the main motioner wish to speak in favor of this?
Yes. So, like we talked about last week, the goal of the meme wall is to recognize our former Vice President Idman, but also create an inclusive space on our office. This is what we've seen last year with the meme wall is having more senators, but also community members from campus to engage with us and have a friendly environment. The other thing we wanted to do with the meme wall is also have students submit pictures or any things to make it fun in our office. So this is just a great way to recognize one of our former student leaders, but also to create a community in our office.
Does the second Senator Narala wish to speak on the motion?
Yes, I'll take this opportunity and just say a couple words. I hope I completely agree with Vice President Mesta. I hope this resolution gave you like a rough rundown on how resolutions would work to kind of help you introduce your own resolutions in the future. And with that being said, I hope you had a pretty good time to read the resolution, and we're open to any discussion points and questions that you may have.
Are there any questions on the resolution for the Meanwhile resolution? Any questions? Any questions? Seeing no questions on the Meanwhile resolution, we'll proceed onwards to discussion items, discussion points on the resolution. Are there any discussion points? Any discussion points?
Call to previous question.
Seeing there's a motion to call to previous question. Is there a second on that motion?
Me.
Seeing a second, is there any dissent to that motion? Any dissent? Seeing no dissent, we will proceed onwards into a voting procedure of this. If you are in favor of this resolution, please raise your hand / placard at this time. Okay, go ahead and lower. If you are against, please raise your placard. If you are abstaining, please raise your placard or hand. In a vote to 20 to 0 to 1, this motion passes. The Meanwhile resolution is adopted. With that being said, Senator Revere, do you have a part?
I got one more question on the past motion. Could we revert back?
Unfortunately, you can make a motion for us to revert back. Would you like to be making that motion at this time?
Yeah.
All right, we have a motion to return to the old business of the bylaws update amendment. Is there a second on that motion? Seeing a second. Is there any dissent to returning to the discussion of the bylaw update amendment? Seeing dissent, we will take that into a vote on that procedure. If you are in favor of returning back to discussion on the bylaws update amendment resolution, please raise your hand / placard. Seeing none, we will proceed onwards to, is there anyone against going back to discussing the bylaws update amendment? Any abstentions? Seeing a clear majority voting no, this motion fails. We will not be going back to the bylaws update amendment. With that, we will proceed onwards to announcements. Are there any announcements? Senator Goma?
Sorry. Hi everyone. The outreach program is here on campus with the Affordability Connection programs, which means like we're offering tablet for students for $11 with internet. So if anyone is interested or if you know anybody, just reach out to me. And there is also other fellow people from the outreach program, but I will give the name later on and you can make a publication about it.
Vice President Mesta. Hi everyone, so tomorrow Latinx is holding a Welcome Week event in the MCC. I would hope you guys to attend. It is around noon. And then also, African Affairs is holding barbecue at Highland tomorrow. Is it tomorrow or Friday?
It's tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So please, if you guys want free barbecue and have a good time to connect with African Affairs, please join us.
John?
Thank you, Speaker Roberts. Good meeting, folks. I see that there are some questions and some things about process and procedure. Be sure to talk to the speaker or leadership about that as we get used to how things run. The Roberts Rules, the process that is generally followed to the best of our ability, is used to afford people the opportunity to speak, but also for efficiency of the operation. For those who have questions about what happened with the motion to expedite, so for those of you who've been around the table before, the Senate has made motions to expedite and vote on motions that are made for the first time during a meeting, but those ones that get expedited are the ones that have expressed the will of the Senate. They are not specifically amending your governing documents. The bylaws themselves say that motions to amend the bylaws will be considered at the meeting following their introduction. Okay, so that's why that motion could not be expedited today. So, but in the future, if you're expressing the will of the Senate or an opinion on something, and that needs to, typically that would wait 2 weeks as well. But those motions have been expedited before and can continue to be so. So. Be sure to ask questions about the process. It's meant to increase efficiency and all of that kind of stuff. And also, don't be afraid if you've got questions about stuff to use that time outside of meetings to get some of those answered. Event-wise, the RSO Fair was today. You probably saw that outside as was spoken about. Great event, great weather, great lunch, great petting zoo, great all of the above. So fun stuff outside today. Next Tuesday we have Mav Fest, 6 o'clock on the UDC lawn. There will be the band Foreplay will be playing, and so there will be free hot dogs, chips, and a drink at that one as well. The speaker also mentioned that Mav Central was updated today. You should be able to log in there. For those who are recipients of the Bookstore Leadership Award, that did get resolved, so that has been taken care of. And then also, I tuned out for a moment as I was thinking about something else, but a reminder that next Saturday, the 9th, is the first home football game, and student government's taking care of the distribution of those T-shirts at the game. So please be sure you're signed up to help with that, and please make sure we've communicated that with the athletics department. They know to expect it. Last but not least, I think the free homecoming concert tickets are still available. There are not many left. They have not reached the 1,000 that are free yet, but they're getting closer and closer every day. So please remind folks to get those. So thank you very much for a good meeting, and there we go.
So I made a real silly mistake, but we're gonna finish announcements, but we do have another election that I made a mistake on. So I apologize for that, but let's go ahead and finish announcements real quick. That is a pure accident. I apologize to the candidate. Mark.
I know we had a fairly long meeting. I didn't get a chance to welcome everybody back last week. My name is Mark Constant. I work with the CSU Student Activities. Just want to make sure everybody knew that we're happy to have you back. A great group, a lot of new folks, and some great returning people as well. Anything that I can do or my staff can do to help you out along the way with the student union and the student activities, we're here to serve you in any way that we can. My office is down the hall in CSU 220. We believe strongly in student input, and look forward to working with you. I work with two primary student groups: the Student Union Board, which is an advisory group to the student union, and then also the Student Allocations Committee. And I encourage all of you to get some of your folks to your leadership, especially with the Student Allocation Committee. I was thankful for the 4 people we got last week, 4 great people for the Student Union Board. Well, we need some wonderful people for the Student Allocations Committee. So please pass names along the way, and look forward to a great year with you. Thanks.
Are there any other announcements? Seeing none, we need to revert back, and I give the greatest and biggest apology that I will make it up to you.
Motion to revert back to elections?
We will not, I won't need that motion, that's my fault, we skipped over the vacancy. So we'll go over to the vacancy for Graduate Studies, Senator. I sincerely apologize. Alrighty. If you can just state your name and if your pronouns, if you are comfortable with sharing those.
Yeah, my name is Aisha and my pronouns are she, her.
Perfect. We will give you up to 2 minutes to state a nice little introduction, anything for opening statements.
Okay. Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well and had a great day. It's been a long day actually. My name is Aisha Maiga. I am from Mali, a country in West Africa. This is my first semester as a graduate student and I'm majoring in information technology. I had my bachelor's in finance last year here at MNSU, so I'm back at campus for my master's. Today I am running for the Senate's position for graduate studies. And I am running because I want to be the ear that's going to listen to graduate students and also the voice that's going to advocate for them. Throughout my journey as an undergrad here at MNSU, I've had the opportunity to be involved in different organizations such as Delta Sigma Pi, which is an international fraternity, Tau Sigma, which is a honor society for transfer students and also Beta Gamma Sigma, which is a business honor society. I look forward to start this new journey as a student government member, and go Mavs.
Alrighty, thank you very much. We'll proceed onwards to questions for the candidate. Are there any questions for the candidate? Senator Goma.
What are your hobbies? What do you do for fun when you're not at school?
When it's school time, I am really focused on school, and like I do some on-campus events as well. But in my free time at home, I cook a lot. Yeah, I love cooking.
Are there any other questions for the candidate? Senator Rala?
Classic old question. What would your biggest strength and weakness?
What was that?
What would your biggest strength and weakness be?
I would say my biggest strength is my work ethics. I am a hard worker and I am reliable. I like doing stuff on time, and I think that's what helped me graduate my undergrad with honors. And I would say my weakness is public speaking. I am shaking right now. Yeah. But I'm working on this because I want to join the student government, and I am volunteering with a program called Engine Program, where I teach English to students from Ukraine. So the fact that I'm talking with different cultures, that's a great aspect, and joining fraternities also is helping me a lot.
Are there any other questions for the candidate? Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll give you a minute for closing.
As I mentioned earlier, I want to join the student government because this is my first year as a graduate student, and I want to be a voice for graduate students. Not only for graduate students, but like for all students on campus that would like to share their concerns with me. Yeah. And from this experience, I hope to also gain the opportunity to develop my leadership and organizational skills.
Thank you so much. With that being said, if you want, you can exit the room for a moment while we discuss your fate, or you can just stay in the room.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Are there any discussion points for the candidate? Vice President Mesta?
So I think this is a great candidate. I think it takes a lot of courage to be able to engage with us, and to be a graduate studies senator, I think it's an exciting time, so I would vote yes.
Senator Goma?
I will go with what the Senator, Vice President Mesta I just say. This is a great candidate, I believe, and I will vote yes.
Any other discussion points? See.
Yeah, right.
Senator Brink?
It was moved to previous question.
All right. Is there a second on that motion? Seeing a second, is there any dissent? Seeing no dissent, you can all rip off a little sheet of paper, and you can either vote yes, no, or abstain.
Hey, at least you got roaches, and it didn't fall through cracks. Amazing. You want to fade out?
So that's a good question. All right.
No.
They really do though. What's going on? Every meeting, we wrap it up with
Surprise election.
a surprise election. We don't have to, someone has to.
Yeah, we can do that, yep.
All right, we have had a wonderful, I'm sorry, Ashai? Aisha, sorry, Aisha. Aisha. All right, if you can go ahead and go up to the front of the room. We've had an amazing election from a wee little bit of a boo-boo mistake, and I apologize for that. But I would like to congratulate our new Graduate Studies Senator, Aisha. So if you can please repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Aisha,
Will represent and serve
will represent and serve
the students of Minnesota State University,
the
Mankato
students of Minnesota State University, Mankato,
in student life
in student life
and academic needs,
and academic needs,
and will uphold
and will uphold
the mission, Constitution, and bylaws
Constitution and bylaws
of the student government.
of the student government.
I so affirm.
I so affirm.
Congratulations. You can now take a seat at the table. All right, with that being said, we will proceed onwards to roll call. Is there a motion? I see a motion for Senator Marala.
Motion to waive second roll call.
Seeing a overwhelming amount of seconds, is there any dissent? Seeing none, roll call is waived. We are adjourned at 6:16.
Mugshot, roster, read your number one, print your name, and email, I guess. I would already know your email. Just print your name. Just name. Print your name, and we'll take your picture for the roster.
The coordinator. You were part of the
This is just a headshot.
All right. This is the wall, I would assume.
Where they're
You were like over here, so those are. Okay.
All right.
So he can't be. Okay. So that budget committee doesn't count as a coordinator.